Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BIPOC Happy Hour. This is Friday the 16th, another great week we've all had. And now it's time to wind it down. Try to get our weekend started and enjoy ourselves. Tonight we got a special guest here with us, Miss Constance Anderson. It's a pleasure to have us here. She's going to tell a little bit about herself in a few moments. But I want to recognize the pride here in the group. Everybody say hello tonight. Well, at least they waving at y'all.
Hey.
Hey, guys, glad to have y'all here. Again, like I said, tonight we got a special guest with us here. It's Miss Constance Anderson. I'm gonna turn it over to her and let her tell us a little bit about herself, and then we'll start conversing and start this Friday. How does that sound, everybody? Miss Constance, thank you for joining us tonight. Tell us a little bit about
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. So let's see, I'm originally from the South. I'm from Mississippi, Aberdeen, Mississippi. So
Southern woman.
Yes, and but I've been here, in Minnesota for some years. So people keep on telling me that I can't claim, Mississippi, but I'm still going to. So
go for it. Me too.
Right. Let's see, I'm assistant principal in Robbinsdale district, and also have a school counseling background. I'm also, my spare time, I a little over 20 years.
Lost your sound just a little bit there.
Huh? Did
Go
you
ahead.
lose
I
me?
lost your sound. We didn't hear you there for a quick second.
Oh, okay. So yeah, over the past 20 years, I've been acting. So I've been in acting for, like I said, 20 years. I've been theater, films, independent films, TV, print, whatever here in Minnesota. So that's kind of what I do on my free time when I have free time. So that's, a little bit about me.
Well, has this COVID affected you a lot being an assistant principal?
Yeah,
Are you having to go back
actually,
to school? Are you in school?
no. We're in distance learning over in Robbinsdale. So right now everything is virtually. So the kids aren't back in the building yet.
So what do you think about kids going back to school?
For me, it's hard because I really want to have the kids back into school. I mean, it's a huge part of their learning. So it's really hard to do that distance learning, being on a computer all day, because a lot of our kids are struggling. So I do really want to be back in the building with our kiddos, but right now with this pandemic, it's just not safe. So that's what we're worried about.
Okay, when they go back to school, I mean, does it affect the teachers too? How does that work? Because I mean, this goes both ways. I went to one school I seen where they had kids with masks on, had them going to separate areas, taking temperatures. How do kids feel about going through that thing every day? How does that make them feel?
Well, I don't think the kids really understand. They understand that it's, is a virus out here and they could get sick, but I don't think they really understand the severity of it. So I work in middle school. So just imagine trying to, keep, I'll just say 200 students, keeping 200 students apart and not having that whole, I want to give you a hug. I want to talk to you. No, you got to give me 6 feet. You know what I mean?
We got to have that. Kids that young.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
So what about masks? I mean, when they come with masks with different words on it and stuff like that, how does that affect situations? Because that's another situation I think about when I see kids come to school, they have words in their masks and said, you can't wear that here, because there's different stuff now they put in these masks. So
yeah.
I don't how do you deal with that? I mean, there's a assistant principal sometimes,
Well, we really try to rely on the parents, So the parents are the first ones that see their kids before they get on the bus and they come to the building, right?
They should.
So
they should.
Yes, yeah, and hopefully, they're talking to their kids. This is a partnership. I mean, we can't do this all by ourselves.
No.
So we rely on parent engagement. We want to be able to, hopefully, when you're sending your kids to school, they're there to learn. And so they don't come with, inappropriate things on their mask or things like that. But, if it happens, we just have to deal it by case situation.
How do you think you would ever get? Well, let me rephrase it. How soon do you think you'll be able to feel comfortable being in a school environment back in the full swing of things again? Do you think that's going to be this year, 2021? I mean, as a teacher, I ask you that, or being in the school building with all the kids, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Kids are little infections.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, it was bad enough before the pandemic. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Kids would sneeze and have it on their hand. We get sick most of the time. Because of the kids and they're sick, and then we get sick. So
right,
now you got the pandemic in there. For me, when people stop dying is when I'll feel safe.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's more when they come up with a vaccine that I don't have to worry about if I get, COVID, I don't have to worry about that. I have a 50-50 chance that I'll make it through or I'll die. So until they can figure that out, that's when I'll feel safe with coming back in the building.
So can I ask one more question? Because do you feel this is setting the kids or people of color kids back from, some kind of learning because they don't have computers, some don't have internet, and this is going to further push them behind on the curve of education and not having certain things, starting businesses, getting money, having a diploma. Because I know a lot of kids who don't have computers or internets. They use their phone, which is, so is this affecting people of color more than, students now than anything that I see?
Yeah, it's definitely affecting, students of color because, a lot of the kids don't have that internet and they don't have the computers, but each district is supposed to provide families with, their iPads or Chromebooks. They provide them with internet. So they have hotspots that they provide the students, so each district is supposed to do that.
So it's not mandatory?
No, they have to do that. Each district has to provide kids with reliable technology or hotspots if they don't have internet. Yeah. And so, and it does affect our kids because, there was already an achievement gap already. And it was, students of color was the ones that were affected with this achievement gap where they're struggling. So now you put in the pandemic, and now you've got the internet, and they have to learn virtually. This is not working for our kids. They need to have that face-to-face interaction, to really learn. Most of the time, our struggles right now is some of our kids, they're on the computer, they'll have their, cameras off, and they could be doing other things. So yeah, it's going to really affect our kids because they're already struggling and behind. Now this is probably going to push them back even more.
And because the parents have to go to work, there's a lot of times not a parent there to oversee, and because
yeah. And that's one of the parents, we hear it all the time. The parents are like, we are not a teacher. We are not a principal, and we can't we can't teach our kids. This is not what we went to school for. So yeah, it's difficult. And then you got parents that are working, so they're not in the house to help support the kids, especially the younger ones. When you're getting, elementary and middle school, you really need to have somebody there to help support them when they're learning virtually. And it's hard.
So what about after school programs? What can we do as people of color to bridge some of those gaps, as far as like working with educators, working with principals, working with schools, working with after school programs, working with social distancing? How can we as people, we even do this Zoomcast, how to, to bring that more into the community, to make sure people know about those things, because I didn't know you was mandatory to get a laptop or an internet. What do you have to do? Do you have to sign up? Can you just get it?
All that All that information is given to you in the beginning of the school year. I have a kindergartner and he has a laptop. I have internet at home. But the problem is, we give them excuses. You feel what I'm saying? We can't continue to give the parents or the kids excuses. This is a time during pandemic. These kids haven't been in school in the whole year. Now, giving you an example, I hear a lot of people talking about the song WAP and what these kids are learning and how they hear it. Now, these kids haven't been around no other children but their parents, supposedly, during this quarantine. So, only way these kids able to learn in song is from what you're letting them listen to, what you're not supervising them to do. It's the same way in school. You understand what I'm saying? You got to sit there and put that time and effort into teaching your child. I think this is perfect that we are able to put in some time with our kids to make sure they know certain things. Because even in school, they're not doing what they're supposed to do if they're below level, either they the class clown or skipping class or doing something else. Now I'm able to be there to know what my child is doing. But see, I'm a two-parent household. You feel what I'm
So,
saying? So it's easier for me because I quit my job. You feel what I'm saying? To make sure my child don't go to school. And he's not going to school until, like she said, until they find something that's gonna
so
give me more
let
than
me
what
ask let me ask one more question then. That you said that, because Constance, you said that the parents are not the teachers, they're not the principals, they're not this. With this new coronavirus, is new homeschool going to be the way we're going to go now? And you have to be that teacher, that principal now because we're homeschooling because we don't want our kids to go to school, and to be more effective with our kids in homeschooling, we would need some of those things in place.
Um, it just really depends on the household. You know what I mean? There's parents now that even before this pandemic were homeschooling their kids. So it just really depends. Like Bobby said, you know, he's a two-parent household, so he was able to
Somebody to
be
be
at
there.
home. You know what I mean? So it just really depends. A lot of parents don't want to be teachers, so they don't want to do that. They want their kids back in school. So it just really depends on the situation. Hopefully soon we will be back in the building. Hopefully teachers want to be back in the building. They want to be around the kids. They want to teach the kids. That's why they, went to school, got these degrees, so they
Because they
can.
wanted to.
This is what we want to do. I've been in education for 20 years, and this is the first time I've ever been at home, you know what I mean, during the school year. I've never this is strange to me because I like the interaction with the kids. I like being around the kids. I like the teaching and learning. That's the reason why I got into education. So, but right now for me, I want to live.
Your personal safety becomes a lot more important.
Yeah, yeah,
Self-preservation.
it's
yeah.
like
Well, that leads me into a segue question. I'm sorry, I don't want to too much interrupt, but do you think your life is a lot better now in these last 4 years than it was 4 years ago with the current political environment? Is that why do you think you're?
Mm, I don't think it's better. We're all struggling. It's hard. This pandemic is hard. I've never having to be in the house, as much as I have, in my entire life. I'm here during work hours. Everything's either closed. This
Mhm.
pandemic has shut things down. We won't even be able to, go have dinner. Now that it's cold. So I don't think this is better than 4 years ago. But if you're talking, more on the political side,
Yeah, I'm
then
sliding.
let's
Yeah, I'm kind of
slide.
easing over there.
Right,
No,
right.
on the political side, I was wondering, like, the policies, because like, I know Sharon Alameen is going for the school board of Minneapolis. So when we have people like that, or because I know her very well, I'm thinking like in each district you have different people telling you or pulling your strings on how you get paid, who gets this, who gets what, equity. How do you feel about it? Like in politics? How does that affect you? On getting what you need for schools. Do you have to go buy pencils and pens for your students now? I know some people are buying. They get a budget so they can buy ink pens and crayons and stuff like that, which I don't think they should be doing.
Right, right. That's part of education. I mean, the school should be providing, pens and pencils
like
and
any other job.
right, right. I mean, if you want me to do my job effectively, then provide me what I need. And that's what the struggle is when you're talking about suburban schools and you're talking about inner city schools. It should be equitable. I mean, everybody should have the same opportunities as if I went to a suburban school as I went to a school in the inner city, but it's not. It's
No.
totally different. So when you're talking about, where the funding, you know what I mean? And there's budget cuts in the inner cities every single year. And it's difficult because who is it? It's hurting our kids, right? When we don't have these programs, we don't have mentors, we don't have these different, we don't have supplies, materials, we don't have the new technology, the smart boards, as when you go out and step out in the suburbs and you see all the new technology and all this stuff. How is that equitable?
No, it's not equitable. That's why
So
we need to fill out that census to try to get some of these things in our community.
Right. And I think that I'm glad you brought the census up because, that's one of the things in the communities of color. I'll just say that. Because I know for many years, I didn't do the census because I was like, now what they need all this information for? Why you asking who all in my house? All that type of stuff, but it's just, knowing why they need this information. And I think that's probably where we're falling short because we're not explaining why they need this information, how the census will help support our community and getting those different programs that we need, in our schools, in the inner city. But if you don't explain that and they don't know why, then you ain't finna know who's all in my house. You ain't finna know how much I make. Why you need to know that?
They're gonna call ICE.
Right.
They're gonna call ICE on me, y'all.
Yeah. So I think it's just educating and knowing what the census is for, and then why why it's so important to vote. All these different things. It's not really getting out to the community.
Do you have conversations with any of your students or any of their parents about voting during this time? I mean, do y'all actually have discussions about that?
Yeah. So before I worked in the middle school, I worked in the high school, and I worked in the high school for many, many years. So we have those conversations with high school students because they're at that age and eventually they're going to be 18 and we want them to make sure we vote, especially for our young kids because now they're going to be the new generation and we want to make sure that they're voting. So yeah, we have those conversations. It's in a lot of our curriculum where the kids are getting it in their classrooms.
But that's only in high schools, correct?
No, we talk a little bit about it in middle school as well, just to kind of get the kids more familiar with, what's going on in the world. Right now it's this huge election, and we want to make sure that people get out and vote. Well, why do we need to vote? What's the importance of making sure that, we all go out there and and when we vote for these candidates and why do we don't want certain, knowing which Democratic Party you want to be on. Are you Democrat? Are you Republican? So yeah, it's definitely teaching the kids too, in middle school as well.
Well, I have a question now. Due to the fact that you are in Minneapolis, surrounding areas, do y'all talk about George Floyd and that incident that was going on then? Because some states, they feel a certain type of way about talking about it. They feel one way and they express how they feel. But do y'all actually talk about why it happened or so forth, so on about the incident?
Yeah, so over the summer, we actually did some work around that. around, uh, social injustice and the equity and white privilege. So we had our teachers, because the majority of our teachers are, white. So what we did was we started a book club and we read White Fragility, and it talked about white privilege, and then how do you see yourself, and when how are you going to present yourself when the kids come back in the building. We didn't know at that time that we weren't coming back in the building, right. But it was to really have those courageous conversations, and what we need to how do we show up for our students of color. And then we also have like a program called A Second Step, which deals with social emotional learning, that's social emotional trauma. So we really did a lot of work around that through the summer before the teachers even came back to school.
Okay, now, during this pandemic thing, a lot of our young children has revealed some true history of our African American heritage. That they realize that how much history has been whitewashed. And honestly, a lot of Caucasians didn't know about a lot of our history that was happening to us or that had happened to us. Now, my question is, by you being a principal, now that everyone know that it has been whitewashed, are you all going to take a step and teach the truth about what's going on? Like, for instance, they told us, and we all in the same generation. They told us for years, everyone in Africa is poor. It is ran down and so forth and so on.
That was not true.
And they told the Africans that we was lazy. But it took for them to show us, hey, we live basically better than you are. We have marble floors. This is middle class, marble floors and different things like that. But and we see that you are not lazy. I have friends that's from Sierra Leone and Nigeria and Ghana. So they really showed me some things that, all my life they told me that, hey, Africans, they always they bad off. So my question is, are y'all gonna try to teach them something more about our heritage that's the truth?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of our curriculum comes from we have a curriculum and instruction. So that comes from the district. But especially now with this the pandemic, the racial injustice. So now they're really looking into that, the cultural relevance, teaching and cultural relevance curriculum. So where do our kids see themselves in the curriculum, and reading books and picking the information that our kids want to learn and that it's relevant to them, that they see themselves. So yeah, they're definitely going to start looking into that, because this is a huge shift now, and the George Floyd, has really opened up a lot of people's eyes. But for us, this has been happening for centuries. Right. They just now, seeing this stuff like, oh, we've been telling you this for centuries. Right.
I want to touch on the pandemic thing also. Now, I was mentioning about the mask. Now, I know I'm from Washington, D.C. I was raised there, and we came up where we had to wear uniforms. I believe, students these days should wear uniforms. That dies down, that cuts off a lot of issues that is going on now. Who wearing the best things and who's...
I don't think that's fair. I'm sorry. I went to a private school. I had to wear a uniform, and I hated it.
And that way there won't be no issues about your face mask saying something offensive for... But by my kid, and then one more thing, by my kid being next door neighbor to Robbinsdale, I'm in Crystal. They talking about opening up. My child is not going to school. Now they talking about doing 2 days in, 4 days out of the week. And you have Wednesday off for them to wash down everything. Now, in your opinion, if your school was able to do that, do you think that'd have been safe to do? Because they
And
talk
we're
about if we
not
go to
gonna
Monday and
tell on you.
Tuesday, they go Monday and Tuesday, they off Wednesday, then they go Thursday and Friday to disinfect only on Wednesday. So do you think that's safe?
Well, so Robbinsdale is also moving into the hybrid. So it's a hybrid model. And Robbinsdale was going to be moving into the hybrid model. So it's based on the numbers of, from the Minnesota Department of Health. And if the numbers are low in, that district, then yes, and they'll move into a hybrid a hybrid model. But Robbinsdale's numbers are very high. So we've decided not to go to the hybrid model and stay with just distance learning. So it just really depends, you know what I mean? And for me, there's a lot of safety protocols that they're putting into place. So I like that we have time to now get the schools prepared for, hybrid, or when the kids come back into a brick and mortar situation. So they have like all the dividers, the desks are all, the areas and stuff. Yeah, I mean, they're putting protocols in place for kids to come back into the building and be safe.
I
The
got
school
one.
does not look like it did when we were kids.
I need to settle something real quick. Because since we got a principal on here today, are we still celebrating Columbus Day, or is it Indigenous Day now?
It's indigenous.
Thank you, teacher. Principal. Thank you, principal.
I needed somebody
Hey,
from.
and I absolutely love you guys. I'm an assistant principal, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You,
I'm getting there.
today, you're our principal today.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I'll take it.
And then you might open your own school because these times,
Right,
schools,
because
everything need to be opened up for our kids. You know what I mean? Because this is right now, small businesses is the thing to go with now. There's nothing big and corporate that's going to be dealing with anything, including schools. So if you're
Right.
able to open up a school or study hall or something like that, it's money in it because I'm getting offered to sit here and teach children. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not a teacher; I'm a chef by trade. But
Right.
But I have patience.
if you're elementary, I can help you. You feel me? But I love the way the teachers are interacting with the kids online. Now,
Yes.
I hear a lot of people complaining about they being on devices all day. Well, this is 2020. That's how we start. I mean, that's how things getting started by these kids learning these devices, so it can better the world as it get better as we go on. You know what I'm saying? So they need to be on these devices to know um, to invent something. Because look, we invented these. This was in our time. The cell phone and everything. We did that. You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not necessarily me, but it was in our time period. You know what I'm saying? So we need these kids to be on those things to learn, but we just got to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? And work with the teachers. The parents got to put in the work.
I
Because
agree.
everybody's giving them excuses. Oh, they can't. I wasn't raised to do this. Hey, maybe you need to brush up on some things. You feel what I'm saying? Because trust me, I'm learning some things that I forgot about. That this elementary, I'm 42 years old. I'm like, oh, okay. I never used it in my lifetime, but now I'm learning what it is. But it's fun to me.
So
Yeah.
glad my son is
It's fun
old.
to me.
Glad my son is old.
You don't even got to deal with this, all right?
I'm done. I'm waiting on his kids now. I'm waiting on his kids.
Right.
You know what? The only reason why we do this Zoomcast, because I think that the reason why I wanted the principal on or teacher or something like that is to understand that our plight is to make sure we know everything about what's going on in our communities. So if we can do social engagement, teach our kids, we understand that coming from you because that's respectful. So I think that anytime we get somebody on that Zoomcast to talk about what they do, for our community and how we can make it better. Because I learned something tonight. I didn't know they had districts. I didn't know it's separate school systems, all that kind of stuff on what really goes down. How can we support in what county we in to make sure we know what's going on? Because I don't have a student in college or in school or a son, but I mean, I know it affects me, because I mean, they're taking my tax dollar pay for school too. So I mean, I know I got at least a little say, where the bill goes up, what happens in there, who shot John and why. So that's why I tried to bring something to our community to figure out how can we get more educated about what's really going on and what does that look like.
Well, I mean, this is all new. I mean, like I said, this whole pandemic popped up and it was just like, boom, now we had to do a whole shift. So the teachers we're all learning, we're learning right along with y'all. So we're trying to do the best for our babies. We're trying to do the best for our parents. So I understand the frustration when parents are like, I want my kids back in school. We need to go back. Yeah, I totally agree with you. But until this pandemic changes, this is how it is. So with me, I wasn't a tech person. I didn't grow up in this era with cell phones and, TikTok and all that type of stuff. I didn't do all that stuff. So I'm learning. So one of the, there's pros and cons to this whole thing. So one of the good things about it is technology is moving, it's evolving. And so these kids are going to learn, the technology is growing. So right now, our babies, I mean, I have a kindergartner, a grandbaby, and she's in kindergarten. She knows nothing about school being in a brick and mortar situation, period.
She's never seen it.
This is it. Yeah, she don't know nothing. But right now she's doing Zoom. She's on the computer. She's doing, touch screen, all that stuff like that. She's learning. So she's going to be already up on that whole technology because that's all she knows.
Right.
So it is, it is some pros and cons to the whole thing. I family engagement. If we can get parents really involved, I understand, people are upset, but the complaining doesn't help. We just have to work together. It takes a village. So this is where we are. This is where we are right now. So let's work together, and do this together. And, like I was saying earlier, what happened, in the spring, we had to just quick drop, do what we can. Right now, we've had the whole summer, to really perfect what we're doing now. We have now that it's live. So teachers are actually teaching, we're in blocks. So they teach 90 minutes, 85 to 90 minutes. So they are live the entire time. Before it was more like, here's your homework, read this, here's video, but that's not what it is. You're getting instruction, live, via.
As if she was there.
As if she was right there.
So can I go back to a question you just said? Can I ask a question? The technology, because I got a little story about the technology. I know my niece or nephew was a baby. We gave him an iPad, and they was used to rolling through the iPad, looking at stuff. We gave them a book, and they started crying.
Right, they don't know nothing. Yeah,
the book didn't move. The page didn't roll like this. So he was looking at the book and he looked at me and this thing is not working. Give me the iPad back. We were scared to give our kids these machines. Now we're saying our babies have them. What do you think that change is affecting our kids? Waking up now with a cell phone when they're born. You get a cell number, now you're born. Is that a good thing? I mean,
it's half and half.
Has them.
Yeah, it's half and half for how I see it. It's kind of half and half. I mean, one, they're learning the technology. They're already. I go to my son, who is like a tech geek, like he's a computer geek. And I'd be like, how do you do this? I asked him a couple days ago, I said, how do you screenshot? Show me how do you screenshot and then put it on it. You know what I mean? So it's
I still do it.
Right. So they know these things. They're going to be ready for when,
Future.
2025 comes and, the cars are flying and, this is, what I mean? The only problem I do have about with it is, I go back to when I was younger. Shoot, we played outside.
Yeah.
We made up games.
The phone was in the wall.
Right. We played hide and seek. We played, double dutch, jump rope outside. You know what I mean? These kids don't go outside.
But you had a parent that put you outside. You understand what I'm saying? You had a parent that said, you're not going to sit in here. You're going to go outside and play. That's what
right.
Be home before the street light come on.
Right. Yes, I remember. You better have your butt in here before them street lights come on.
Right. Like
yes.
my son has an iPad and a Galaxy phone, but it's monitored. But if you have a whole backyard that I made into a playground due to COVID, I turned it into a playground. That way you need to go outside. See, if we put these kids outside, that's a difference. They don't have to be on the phone all day. But what is a book? I haven't been to a library in so long. I get everything at the palm of my hand. You know
Right.
I don't remember nobody's number. It's in the palm of my hand. You know what I'm saying? But that's the time we live in it. And we got to look at that. You feel what I'm saying? We have doors and stuff that's locking and opening doors. I control my whole house through a laptop.
From your phone.
Right.
Through my phone. So we got to look at that. These are these times. You know what I'm saying? That these kids need to learn how to perfect it. You feel what I'm saying? Because eventually someone can get into whatever we're doing now. So we're gonna need these kids to perfect what we invented. You feel what I'm saying? So
and I think it's just a balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, these kids do need to learn the technology, but they need to be social. They need to know how to, face-to-face conversation instead of being in front of a computer, talking to somebody that,
Right.
So
they know what bruise is. What to know about falling down and bruising your ankle. I mean, your knee or whatever. You feel what I'm saying? No, I'm being honest with you because mine had his first boo-boo when we went to Florida. And I'm like, oh, well, you need to get up and do it again. You know what I'm saying? Get outside and run. I mean, you're in the house. We at home. We in the house 8 months out of the year. Period. There's snow on the ground. You in Florida with a bunch of kids. Run. Run.
Who's in Florida?
But
no.
the Xbox is in the house. You trying to get me off the Xbox. Come on now.
No, I go down.
Play my Xbox.
Every December we go to Florida. So, and then I'm like, you run. You go out there and enjoy your time because there's no kids in my house for one. You feel what I'm saying? So, and the ones that we have is a couple, because if you as scared as me, I can be around you. You feel what I'm saying? So
y'all agree with YouTube learning and all that kind of stuff? Because that's what it's going to soon.
Oh, yes. I teach my child through YouTube. Oh, yes. And I can control it from my phone. That's where you got a smart TV. So you have a smartphone. You connect them both together. Your child becomes smart. You feel what I'm saying?
You know exactly what your child is watching.
So how does that work?
I turn on what he wants.
Instructional videos. I do, Chris, they do have like counting and all that stuff in French. And it's been helping me because he's at a French immersion school to be able to support him because I ain't took French since elementary school. And so I don't remember all that stuff. And so YouTube's been helpful.
So Sana, does it really work? I mean, I'm serious.
Yes, it's a cartoon video.
It's a cartoon
in French. They're talking.
I would never watch that stuff because I ain't got no kids. But I didn't think that stuff worked. Because tutorials
it's like Sesame Street.
Huh?
It's just like with Sesame Street. Yeah, everyone learned from Sesame Street. Yeah. So it's just singing and dancing all day. And I can give you 8 hours of math and English for straight 8 hours. And I know what you're doing.
So how do your kids feel about that when you do that? Do they pay attention?
Mine don't mind. Mine love to learn. Yeah. So when I come and ask you how to spell bump, I want you to know how to spell bump because I heard you saying it for the last 5 minutes. So it should have rang in your head what bump is. You feel what I'm saying? So when I come in and ask you, I pop up.
And it's fun to watch.
And he'll tell me. You feel what I'm saying? So it is engaging to them. Instead of them watching Power Rangers, they watching these little kids learn how to speak French, English, or whatever. You feel what I'm saying? It works. The teachers even send it to us.
And repetition does a lot. You
Yeah.
continuously watch it. Yeah.
And you
And
remember
it's
your
good
mama
that we
saying,
during the week.
you know all the words to that rap song and you don't know this and that. That music, it does something. It helps
Yep.
them remember.
Yep. Yep.
I got a quick side question. How do you feel, Constance, about no longer teaching cursive writing in school?
Man, I don't even know what happened.
I mean,
It
'cause we
just
had to
it
do
just
it.
disappeared because, like I said, most of my time has always been high school,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it disappeared. I was like, and most of these kids don't even know how to write because
Not at
again,
all.
they on their keyboards. So we had a bunch of kids. I don't know what we took them for, but they had to sign their name in cursive. When you sign your name, it's cursive.
It's cursive.
Kids didn't even know how to sign their name. I was like, well, when did they stop doing the cursive?
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
They didn't
I
put
think
X.
they should. I think they should continue with cursive and writing. I understand we got the keyboards and everything, but
You still need to know both. What if the power goes out?
right, you still should know how to write. So yeah, that was interesting to me too. I was surprised.
But what about spell check? Because every word that I misspell now, before I can even find out it's wrong, spell check has already went through it and fixed it. So how do we learn from those?
Right.
Bad autocorrect. Horrible autocorrect.
Right. And you know what? And actually, I love spell check because I used to suck in spelling. That was one of my I can spell and I just put it in there now and I'll be like, boop, okay, that's okay. So but again, it's still learning. It's the kids learn because if you type in something and it's got the little red line underneath and it says it's spelled wrong. So you click it and it shows you the right way to spell it. So, they're still learning. They're still learning.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the same thing like with the technology, even like GPS. We didn't have no GPS when we was younger. You know what I mean? We had to get that big old map and we had to figure out how we was going to get to where we was going to go to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now, GPS, you pop in the address and boom. And then
it just drive.
shows us how we going to get to, it's just that whole technology and how it's progressing and our kids are learning it. And, I don't want them to lose how, I think they should still teach kids the old school, you know what I mean? So they can see the difference, how it progressed.
I want to ask one more thing before, because the technology has taken away the fact that we don't remember phone numbers anymore. Because I just want to ask that question too. Like, I used to know my grandmother's phone number, my phone number, and one more emergency number.
That's part of the school. School made sure you learned that.
So
they don't do that no more either. Why is that?
Because of technology.
You lost your
phone.
What?
And that's funny too, because I don't know nobody's phone number either. And one time my phone died and I was on my way to an appointment and my phone died in the Jeep. So I didn't have no GPS and I didn't have no number to call nobody.
That does happen.
Technology.
I was like, I was messed up the whole way. So yeah. So, but yeah, it's just what it is now. This is our new normal.
And I'm really glad that we do have it, because what would we have done, y'all, during COVID, like without technology?
Right.
If this happened when we were growing up, with the one phone on the wall, because you only had that one avenue really to call out. I mean, we had pagers and stuff, but we couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Oh yeah.
But we would be outdoors. We wouldn't be in the house.
No,
what would you be learning though?
You locked down.
Yeah.
You're talking about during COVID. It's like if this had happened in the
nobody would be able to
early 90s before the internet.
I couldn't get groceries delivered to me.
Right. Right, y'all. I mean,
See, there y'all go.
I'm keeping it real.
That's the technology. There you go.
I'm
thank
keeping
this
it real, and I
technology.
love my Instacart.
Okay.
Shoot, I don't want to go in there and get no corona.
Right. Right.
Give it to me. But yeah, Stana, I believe I'd have been in my feelings if this happened back in the 90s, the 80s.
Right,
I've
man.
really been hurt.
Yeah.
Glad it progressed.
There's been now too much Connect Four and Uno for me. But thank God I have a big family, so we'd have been in there wrestling or whatever. But it still would have been boring.
But have we forgot about board games, stuff like that we used to do? I mean, I don't understand what have we forgotten our childhood. We didn't have internet. We didn't only have one phone. We had one TV in the basement. We found things to do. What have we forgotten?
Do you still have a house phone? Anyone on this panel have a house phone?
I still
A
do.
house phone? Did you guys ever see that YouTube video? It was a YouTube video of two boys, and the dad had one of those. Remember the rotary phones that just went all the way around to each number. You got one?
I got a rotary phone.
And so what he said he'd give them $100 if he could dial this number, right, in 4 minutes. I was like, 4 minutes? That's a long time. They could easily get that, right? They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out how to do that. You had to go all the way around, let it go all the way back. They was holding the receiver like, what am I supposed to do with it? It was hilarious. And they couldn't do it.
I believe it.
Google, yeah, look it up on YouTube. It was hilarious.
I seen that video. I seen that video, and I was thinking to myself, on if we get any further into the future, because I mean, I know when they changed from the dial posting to the touchstone, I was born then, so I knew then, right? Because that kind of upset me when they changed from the rotary thing, because you had to now press the button or make sure you got the phone number right, or this didn't work. Then you knew what you dialed. You know, when my grandmother was doing it, because she showed you. But the new technology came up for me. Now we got to touch it. Now we got a telephone you can just talk to and say, Carl, what's his name?
All of us lived through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now the 2000s. And we've been through a whole lot. We done seen a whole lot of things that came upon, like internet, like the phone that it changed from the pager to the cell phone. You know what I mean? I used to love my little pay phones on every corner.
Okay.
They don't even have pay phones anymore.
They sure don't.
Yeah,
they don't have, yeah.
But do you think that the kid couldn't figure it out because currently, like I have a 23-year-old and now a 6-year-old. So I put one kid through the public school system and now this one. I felt that some of the things that I don't know, I feel like my child was lacking some of those creative thinking skills to even be able to try to like figure that out or even want to figure something like that out. And so do you think, just as a principal and someone who's been in education, do we contribute that to a shift in how kids are being taught now and the lack of flexibility sometimes that teachers have in creating curriculums in the way that, you know, maybe they would want to? I don't know if like they have restrictions or things like that on what it is they can teach.
Yeah. And that goes with the Department of Education, you know, so they're the ones that create, you know, what the content. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that it takes away their creative thinking. You know what I mean? Because now everything is done for you. You know, like you said, the spell check, bam. If it's spelled wrong, they'll change it, or, you know what I mean? They don't. Do you remember when we had the dictionary? So when if you couldn't figure out a word, you had to look that word up in the dictionary. Right. So, and you had to figure out how to spell it. Yeah. You know, but right now it's just like it fixed it for you. And then, you know, so it does take away that creative thinking. I think that with curriculum, I think they should still continue to teach the old school way and then bring it up to the new technology way. so they can still see the difference in the progression of how things change. My granddaughter has no clue. She only knows the cell phone. You know what I mean? But I want her to know that this is how it used to be. We used to have the rotary phones, and this is how it used to be when I was little, and this is where it is now. They're losing that. The kids are losing that. And I think that, yeah, they should have more where they don't just give it to you instantly. It takes away that creative thinking. You got to think about it. Problem solving. Yeah. You know what I mean? They have to really figure this stuff out. And if technology just gives it to you like that, then, again, when I said about the maps, now you got GPS, you just pop your address and it takes you right there. Well, we had to do some more problem solving, creative, critical thinking. Well, if we go this way, it'll be a lot shorter if we go this way. You know what I mean? It takes all that away from them. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, because I know
also on the parents too. I think the parents also, it's not always on the teachers. The parents also got to show the kids where we come from. It's just like history, any history. You know what I mean? Like we just found out about our history now. This is our history. So we have to teach our children our history.
Remember, Bobby, that we're going into an older time that us on this line, we're in that other generation. So where we're still older, and some of these younger people don't know what it is to teach the babies.
But I mean, some people don't know east, north, and west. Without GPS, they don't even know east, north, and west.
Well, is that because the reason why these other kids don't know how to teach their babies is because my generation didn't teach them.
We didn't know. And it kept on going.
Knew, huh?
Our generation is still trying to find a way to cross.
Excuses.
Well, I mean, it is what it is.
Always learning. You should always be open to learning. I mean,
you should be. Most people should be.
But I think that we should know our history. It's not hard to say, well, dear, this is what we used to go through. Like I'm teaching my child how to a clothes hanger, a clothespin, how to turn a clothespin and a piece of wood and a rubber band into a slingshot. Those are the things that you teach your kids. You feel what I'm saying? How to fish. You know what I mean? Those are things. Jump off that wall. Act like you Superman. Go put that. I bought him a bunk bed. My mate Milton, he didn't raise it for bunk bed. I did. I'm like, bro, that is a clubhouse. That's everything.
Yes, it is. It's a fort.
That's everything for him to have in his room. You feel what I'm saying? So when he got it and realized, I said, see, let me go ahead and show you how to make a fort. Let me show you how to make a clubhouse. You use whatever you have in your room to make it the way you want it to be. You feel what I'm saying? But that comes from me teaching them that. It's not the teacher. It's from me teaching them that. And the teacher just got to teach them how to speak correctly. You know what I'm saying? But my job is to teach them my history. This is what I did when I was younger. You feel what I'm saying? I used to do the field or jump the rope or whatever,
Jump off garages.
Yeah.
Hey, jump off the garages.
Bobby, and I agree with you because, the teacher is supposed to teach the content, right? And then the parents should teach social skills. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's more like, if I was to take my son somewhere way out in the boonies, right? And take his phone and leave him there, and I say, figure out how to get home. He would probably just go nuts.
Sit right there in that spot.
He would just, he would know what to do because they so rely on the technology, their cell phones, their GPS. Be creative, dude. Try to figure out how would you get home. You know what I mean? It's just like, and then it's just like, it's like those simple things. Now we're driving somewhere. I don't know where we're going. You know what I mean? He don't even ask the questions of like, where we going? Because he's too busy on his phone, right? So he had no clue where we going, where we're at, right? And then to the point that, it's like, okay, well, we drove south, so I'm gonna go back this way. You know what I mean? He wouldn't know none of that stuff. And that's that whole, paying attention to your surroundings, learning, and they have no clue because they always stuck on their phone.
Right. That's our new technology, and that's the new way the world is working. And Ms. Constance, I want to thank you for joining us tonight and taking time out of your busy schedule and doing this all this time. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I love having these conversations.
Definitely. I want to open it up. Anybody got any announcements or any of that kind of stuff? It's getting close to the time that the bar have to be closing pretty soon. Just want to make sure.
Last call.
Last call.
Well, look out for That Old Country Boy Mobile Market. That's That Old Country Boy Mobile Market. We'll be bringing fresh and produce to your neighborhood. We should be up hopefully before Thanksgiving. But we bring all the fresh fruits and vegetables from farm to table. Some from farm to table, but also I'm looking for also black purveyors, this black farmers. So look out for That Old Country Boy Mobile Market, and also Bobby Leroy's Closet. Go get your face mask. Get all your Lindsay things that you need. Your Lindsay me in Swahili mean your Lindsay mean protection in Swahili. So come on past at Bobby Leroy's Closet. I have too many things going on.
Some of us lead busy lives. Busy lives.
But Bobby Leroy's Closet, come on past and get your face mask thing.
Dennis, what you got?
Vote, please vote.
Yes.
Everybody, please vote.
I did it. I went and vote early. You can go to, it's 2 places downtown. You can go to your local county, Hennepin County, if you live in the metro area, like north, south. You can go down there and vote right now in the morning time, 8 o'clock to 4.
And it's easy.
And it's easy. And it didn't take that long. I walked in there. We took about 5 minutes, got the little thing, put it out. I was done.
Please, everybody, vote. Vote like your life depends on it.
Yes.
Mask, take you some hand sanitizer. Go get down there and vote.
Even to the point, bring one of those fold-up chairs. If you got to bring a fold-up chair, you know what I mean? So get out there for an hour or two. Yeah, you know what I mean? Sit out there. Just make sure you go and vote.
And fortunate of it, if you do it early in advance, you don't have to sit out in the chair. You can be in and out. It doesn't have to interrupt your day. Please go do it.
Yes, it's just too important.
Join the other 17 million people across the country that have already voted early. Y'all, this is so crazy. I'm so excited.
Yes.
That is a good thing. That is a good thing.
This is like most people that have ever voted early ever. Like over 17 million have already cast the ballot.
There was a lady that's 107. She traveled 300 miles.
Yes.
To go and vote. And she was a politician herself, but she said she was going in person to vote because she never and they sent her ballot late. So she said she's going where she need to go to put that ballot in. So if she can do it and she's 107, we all can do it. Put on your face mask, take your lawn chair, and go do it.
Let's go do it.
Out of there.
That is our biggest message. Anybody got any other announcements or anything?
New businesses or anything?
Just want to double check. Again, we want to definitely thank Constance for being here with us and giving us an educational outlook on what's going on with this COVID. A lot of stuff we didn't know, and glad you shared it with us. We definitely
thank you.
And at this time, we're going to call it for a night. Glad you all were able to come out and join us. Again, the BIPOC Happy Hour is here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. We just want you to come out and socialize with us. And we thank you all again for joining us. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.